I found my dream house on a Tuesday afternoon in March. White colonial with blue shutters, wrap-around porch, mature oak trees in the yard, and most importantly, only 3 blocks from the ocean. The kind of house I'd fantasized about since childhood, the kind I never thought I could actually afford. My husband Jake and I had been saving for 5 years. Every bonus, every tax refund, every dollar we could scrape together went into our down payment fund. We'd sacrificed vacations, driven old cars, eaten more pasta than any 2 people should. But we'd finally hit our goal, $80,000 for a down payment on a house in Seabrook, a small coastal town in South Carolina, where property values were still reasonable. I'm Rachel Morrison, 31, and I work as a nurse at Seabrook General Hospital. I'd moved to this town 6 years ago for the job, met Jake at a community barbecue 3 months later, and married him within a year. He's a high school teacher, coaches the baseball team, and is genuinely one of the kindest people I've ever met. We'd been renting a cramped 2-bedroom apartment downtown, dreaming about the day we could buy our own place and maybe start a family. The house, 426 Ocean View Drive, was listed at $320,000. It needed some cosmetic work but had good bones, a new roof, updated electrical. The location was perfect for both our commutes. I could practically taste the salt air from that porch. We made an offer the same day. The seller accepted within 24 hours. That's when Jake's mother got involved. Linda Morrison was 63, recently widowed, and the kind of mother-in-law who believed no woman would ever be good enough for her son. She'd made that clear from the moment we started dating. At our wedding, she'd worn black, not as a fashion choice, as a statement. Jake had a complicated relationship with her. She'd raised him alone after his father left when Jake was 10, worked 2 jobs to support them, sacrificed everything for his education. He felt obligated to her in a way I understood but couldn't quite relate to. She'd helped him through college, co-signed his first car loan, been his biggest supporter. She was also controlling, manipulative, and deeply resentful that Jake had married someone she hadn't chosen for him. When Jake told her we'd bought a house, her reaction surprised me. Instead of criticism, she offered help. "Real estate transactions are complicated," she said during dinner at her house the following Sunday. "I've bought and sold 3 properties. I know how these things work. Let me help you navigate the paperwork." Jake looked relieved. "That would be amazing, Mum. Rachel and I are both so busy with work, and honestly, all the legal documents are overwhelming." I hesitated. Linda had never offered to help us with anything before, but Jake seemed genuinely happy about his mother's involvement, and I didn't want to be the reason he couldn't accept her support. "Are you sure?" I asked. "We don't want to burden you." Linda smiled, the kind of smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Your family, Rachel. Of course I want to help." She explained that she had connections with a real estate attorney, someone she'd used for her own property transactions. She'd coordinate with him, review all the documents, make sure everything was in order. All we needed to do was sign where he indicated. It seemed generous, helpful, the kind of thing a supportive mother-in-law would do. I should have trusted my instincts. I should have questioned why Linda suddenly wanted to help after 6 years of barely concealed hostility. But I was exhausted from double shifts at the hospital, excited about the house, and desperate to believe that maybe finally Linda was accepting me. The closing was scheduled for April 15th. Linda coordinated everything with the attorney, a man named Robert Dalton who had an office in downtown Seabrook. She told us he'd prepare all the documents, that we'd just need to come to his office to sign. Jake and I showed up at Dalton's office on closing day, excited and nervous. The office was professional mahogany furniture, diplomas on the wall, that particular smell of old books, an expensive cologne that lawyers always seem to have. Robert Dalton was mid-50s, graying at the temples, wearing a suit that probably cost more than our monthly rent. He greeted us warmly, congratulated us on the purchase, and presented a stack of documents. "Standard closing paperwork," he explained, pointing to colored tabs marking where we should sign. "Deed, mortgage agreement, disclosure forms, insurance documents." Everything Linda and I reviewed is in order. Just sign at each tab. I started to read the first document, the deed, but Dalton interrupted gently. I know it's tempting to read everything, but we have the seller waiting on the phone to confirm, and these documents are quite technical. Linda has already reviewed everything thoroughly. I promise it's all standard. Jake was already signing, trusting his mother's judgment. I felt pressure to keep up, to not delay the process, so I signed. Page after page, barely skimming the dense legal language, trusting that Linda and this professional attorney had our best interests in mind. We signed for 45 minutes. My hand cramped. But finally, Dalton smiled and said, "Congratulations, you're homeowners." He handed us keys to 426 Ocean View Drive. We thanked him, thanked Linda profusely, and drove directly to our new house. Standing on that porch, key in hand, I felt like I'd finally arrived at the life I'd worked so hard for. Jake wrapped his arm around me, and we walked through the front door of our dream house. We spent that entire first week painting, rearranging furniture, planning renovations. Jake's baseball season was ending, and I'd arranged my schedule to have 3 days off. We worked from sunrise to past midnight, transforming the house from the previous owner's style to ours. Linda came by twice that week. She walked through the rooms, made comments about our decorating choices, suggested changes. I tried to be gracious. She'd helped us navigate the closing. After all, you'll want to replace these cabinets eventually, she said in the kitchen, running her hand along the oak doors. And this flooring is dated. But it's a good starter house. Starter house. Like we'd eventually upgrade. Like this $300,000 house we'd saved for 5 years to buy wasn't enough. But I let it go. Jake was happy. We had our house. That's what mattered. 3 weeks after closing, I went to the county clerk's office to get a copy of our deed. We needed it to set up homeowners insurance with a different company. The one Dalton had recommended was surprisingly expensive. The clerk, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain, pulled up our property record. 426 Ocean View Drive, she confirmed. Purchased April 15th. Owner: Linda Morrison. I laughed. No, that's my mother-in-law. The owners are Jake Morrison and Rachel Morrison. She turned her computer screen toward me. The property record clearly listed Linda Morrison as the sole owner. Jake and I weren't mentioned anywhere. My stomach dropped. This has to be a mistake. Let me pull the deed, she said, typing. She printed a document and handed it to me. I stared at the deed, the same one I'd signed at Robert Dalton's office. Except when I actually read it, really read it, I saw the truth. The property was deeded to Linda Morrison. Jake and I had signed documents transferring the house directly to his mother, but we'd paid for it. Our $80,000 down payment, our mortgage application, our money. I don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. We bought this house. We paid for it. The clerk looked sympathetic but confused. According to these records, Linda Morrison is the legal owner. If you believe there's an error, you'll need to consult with the attorney who handled the closing. I drove home in a daze, pulled into the driveway of the house I thought was mine, and sat in my car, staring at that deed. Linda had stolen our house. She'd coordinated with the attorney to create documents that transferred ownership to her while making us think we were buying it ourselves. When Jake got home from school, I showed him the deed. Watched his face go through confusion, disbelief, and finally anger. This has to be a mistake, he said. Mum, wouldn't she helped us? She wanted us to have this house. Did she? I asked. When has your mother ever wanted anything good for us? She wore black to our wedding, Jake. He called Linda immediately. Put her on speaker. Mom, there's something wrong with the deed. It has your name on it, not ours. Linda's voice came through calm and matter-of-fact. That's correct. Silence. What do you mean that's correct? Jake's voice was tight. The house is in my name. For protection. You're young. You have student loans, medical bills. If something happened, a lawsuit, bankruptcy, the house would be protected in my name. It's a common strategy. We didn't agree to that, I said, my voice shaking with rage. We paid for this house, our down payment, our mortgage. Actually, Linda interrupted, if you check your mortgage documents, you'll find the loan is in my name as well. You're making payments to me, and I'm paying the bank. Again, for protection. Jake pulled up the mortgage documents on his laptop. She was right. The mortgage was in Linda's name. We'd been signing documents that made us what? Renters? Tenants? This is fraud, I said. You tricked us into signing documents that I did no such thing, Linda said, her voice hardening. Robert Dalton is a licensed attorney. Everything we did was legal. You signed willingly. You're welcome to consult your own lawyer, but you'll find everything was above board. Jake's face had gone pale. Mum, why would you do this? To protect you. You're my son, Jake. I've always protected you. This ensures that no matter what happens in your marriage, you'll have security. The implication hit like a slap. She'd done this to protect Jake from me, to make sure that if we divorced, I'd get nothing. Except Jake would get nothing either. Linda owned everything. You need to transfer the deed to us, Jake said. Today. This is insane. I'll consider it, Linda said. Once you've made payments for a few years and I'm confident you're stable. For now, you can live there as long as you'd like. Consider it a generous gift from a mother who loves her son. She hung up. Jake and I sat in stunned silence in the living room of a house we didn't own, surrounded by furniture we'd bought, walls we'd painted, dreams we'd poured into every corner. We'll hire a lawyer, Jake said finally. We'll fix this. We hired a lawyer the next day. A real estate attorney named Patricia Voss who'd been practicing for 20 years. We explained everything, the closing, the documents, the discovery that Linda owned the house. Patricia reviewed all our paperwork, took her time, made notes, looked increasingly grim. I need to be honest with you, she finally said. Everything Linda and Robert Dalton did was technically legal. The documents clearly state that Linda is the owner and borrower. You signed them willingly. We didn't know what we were signing, I protested. Dalton rushed us, said it was standard. But you did sign, and you're both college-educated adults. A court will assume you had the ability to read what you signed. Unless you can prove fraud that Linda and Dalton deliberately deceived you about the nature of the documents, you don't have much recourse. She did deceive us, Jake said. She told us she was helping us buy a house, not transferring it to herself. Do you have that in writing? Emails, texts, any documentation of her stating she was helping you purchase the house in your names? We didn't. All our conversations with Linda had been in person or over the phone. Patricia explained that we could sue for fraud, but it would be expensive, lengthy, and uncertain. We'd need to prove Linda intentionally deceived us. And given that she could argue she was protecting Jake, a court might side with her. Our best option, Patricia said, was negotiating with Linda, getting her to agree to transfer the deed voluntarily. That night, Jake called his mother again. Mom, our lawyer says what you did might be legal, but it's wrong. You need to transfer the house to us. We paid for it. It's ours. Linda's response was cold. No, Jake, the house is mine. I paid the down payment from my savings. That's a lie, I shouted. We gave Dalton a check for $80,000 from our savings account, which was deposited into my account, Linda said calmly. And I used those funds, along with additional money from my own savings, to make the down payment. As far as the bank is concerned, I'm the buyer. She'd planned this, every step. She'd manipulated the money trail to make it look like she was the true purchaser. If you want to continue living there, Linda continued, you'll pay me $2,000 per month. Consider it rent with an option to buy if and when I decide to sell to you. $2,000. Our mortgage payment was supposed to be $1,600. She was charging us more than the actual cost. And if we refuse? Jake asked. Then I'll evict you. It's my house. I have that right. She hung up again. Jake was devastated. This was his mother, the woman who'd raised him, sacrificed for him. And she'd stolen from us without hesitation. We paid Linda the $2,000 that month. And the next, we didn't have a choice. Moving would mean losing all the money we'd already invested, finding a new place in an expensive rental market, admitting to everyone that we'd been scammed by Jake's own mother. But I wasn't giving up. I started documenting everything. Every payment we made to Linda, every conversation, every interaction. I requested copies of all the financial transactions from the closing where our $80,000 check went. How Linda had moved the money. And I started digging into Robert Dalton. I found something interesting. Dalton had been disciplined by the state bar twice, once for mishandling client funds, once for conflict of interest in representing both parties in a transaction without disclosure. I also found that Dalton had handled 3 other property transactions for Linda over the years. They had a long-standing professional relationship, which meant Dalton had a conflict of interest in our transaction. He was supposed to represent us as the buyers, but he was actually working with Linda. He should have disclosed that relationship. He should have advised us to get independent legal counsel. He'd done neither. I brought this information to Patricia Voss. She reviewed it and smiled for the first time since we'd hired her. This changes things, she said. If we can prove Dalton violated his ethical obligations, we can sue him for malpractice. And if Linda coordinated with him knowing about his conflict of interest, we might be able to prove fraud after all. We filed complaints against Robert Dalton with the state bar. We sued him for legal malpractice. We sued Linda for fraud and unjust enrichment. The lawsuits got Linda's attention. She called Jake furious. You're suing your own mother? After everything I've done for you? You stole from us, Jake said. His voice was different now, harder, colder. His mother's betrayal had broken something fundamental in him. You used your relationship with me to commit fraud. Yeah. Mum. We're suing. The state bar investigation moved faster than expected. Turned out we weren't the first clients to complain about Dalton's relationship with Linda. Another couple had filed a complaint 6 months earlier about a similar situation, Dalton representing them, while actually working with Linda to transfer property to her name. The bar suspended Dalton's license pending a full investigation. And suddenly, Linda wanted to negotiate. She called 2 weeks after Dalton's suspension, her voice strained. Let's settle this. I'll transfer the house to you and Jake. You drop the lawsuits. Not enough, Patricia advised us. She made you pay above market rent for 6 months. She committed fraud. You're entitled to damages. We demanded Linda transfer the house to us, refund the extra $400 per month we'd overpaid for 6 months, and pay our legal fees. Total. Approximately $25,000. Linda tried to negotiate lower. We refused. Patricia pointed out that if we won the lawsuits, Linda might owe significantly more, possibly triple damages for fraud, plus punitive damages. Linda finally agreed. The transfer happened in late October. This time, Jake and I hired our own attorney, not Patricia, but someone who specialized in real estate transfers. We read every word of every document. We verified everything with the county clerk before signing. When I walked out of that attorney's office with a deed listing Jake Morrison and Rachel Morrison as the owners of 426 Ocean View Drive, I cried with relief. But the damage to Jake's relationship with his mother was permanent. He hasn't spoken to Linda since the settlement, won't return her calls, won't see her on holidays. She tried showing up at our house once. He wouldn't let her pass the porch. She taught me that blood doesn't mean loyalty. He told me one night, as we sat on that porch, watching the sunset. She taught me that the person who raised me was capable of destroying my life for her own control. I can't forgive that. I understood. I'd lost trust in Linda immediately. But watching Jake lose his mother, even though she'd done this to herself, was painful. We still live at 426 Ocean View Drive. We've renovated the kitchen, replaced the flooring, Linda criticized, painted every room. We made this house ours in a way that has nothing to do with whose name is on the deed. I keep a copy of the original deed in a safe in our basement, the one with Linda's name on it. Sometimes I look at it and remember how close we came to losing everything. And I think about how many other families might have experienced similar fraud. How many mothers-in-law or family members have used trust and relationships to steal from the people they're supposed to love. Patricia Voss told us after the settlement that elder fraud is common, but family fraud, where older family members scam younger ones, is underreported because victims are ashamed to admit their own family betrayed them. Jake and I aren't ashamed. We talk openly about what Linda did. When friends tell us about family members offering to help with major financial transactions, we tell our story. Because the lesson isn't just about reading documents before you sign, though that's important. The lesson is that people who want to control you will use your trust, your love, your exhaustion against you. Linda knew we were overwhelmed with work. She knew Jake would trust his mother implicitly. She knew I was desperate for her acceptance and wouldn't question her sudden helpfulness. She used all of that to commit fraud, and she almost got away with it. If I hadn't gone to the county clerk's office, if I hadn't thought to get that deed, we might have lived in that house for years, paying Linda inflated rent, believing we were owners when we were actually tenants. We might have renovated with our own money, invested in improvements, built our lives there, all while Linda held the deed and could evict us anytime she wanted. That's the real violation, not just the fraud, but the years of stolen security. The knowledge that the house we thought was our foundation was actually built on her manipulation. Jake sometimes talks about what he'll tell our kids someday we're trying for our first now. How do you explain that their grandmother committed fraud against their parents? How do you teach them to trust family while warning them that sometimes family can't be trusted? I don't have good answers, but I know we'll tell them the truth, that people who love you can still hurt you. That trust has to be earned, even with family, that when something feels wrong, you question it no matter who tells you it's fine. Linda sent a card on Jake's birthday last month. He opened it, read her message about wanting to reconcile, and tore it up without comment. She had a choice, he said. Every step of the way, she chose to betray us. She could have actually helped us. She could have advised us, supported us, been the mother I needed. Instead, she saw an opportunity to control me and took it. He's right, and I won't waste energy hoping Linda will change or apologize meaningfully. She believed she was protecting Jake, that she had the right to control his life and his assets. That belief system doesn't include room for genuine apology. But we have our house, our actual house, with our actual names, on the actual deed. We have the life we built, the security we fought for, and we have the knowledge that we're stronger than the person who tried to destroy us. That's enough.